Hey, what's going on, everyone? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct for this pop-up LinkedIn Live. Normally, we have the Master Connector show Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we still are keeping that going, but I've got an amazing opportunity to speak with a great friend, Erika, and we're going to have a great show. So if you're tuning in for the first time, I know Erika's streaming to her audience as well. Welcome. We're big believers here on being a LinkedIn participant, not a LinkedIn lurker. So we want you to get into the comments. We want you to say hello, tell us where you're coming in from, the city, the state. If you have any questions, we can even ask Erika some questions. And we also want you connecting with each other. On the Master Connector show, it's all about connection. So if you get in the comments, you say where you're from, you see other people, connect with them. And the other thing is this: we don't know you're on watching unless you're in the comments. So that's a little kludgy thing that LinkedIn maybe eventually will fix. But for now, it is what it is. So really, really excited to be here with you today. And we're going to get things rolling here. So I have a question for you folks. Okay, you ready? What if the weight you've been carrying isn't holding you back, but it's actually building I'll say woman, but the person you're becoming? Okay. And listen, we're going to talk about audacious expansion. And listen, audacious can mean a lot of things. Now, I am an introvert. I'm probably for myself and for a lot of people, I don't think of myself as audacious. But you know what? Being this introvert who's now the master connector, being this introvert who's now a inspirational keynote speaker, that is audacious, right? And we've all been through challenges, struggles. I've had my share, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic. I know Erika's going to speak a little bit about some of the stuff she's dealt with. We all have our struggles, our challenges. But you know what I've learned? Our mess is our message. I've learned that, some of those biggest problems can be a blessing to others, especially as you get through them. And so, the things that we deal with, right? Our the test in life that we have, the challenges we go through, a test can be our testimony. So it's going to be an amazing time. And so I'm excited. So listen, if you're just as excited as I am for me to introduce our amazing guest, I want you to go into the comments and type in "Let's go," because we're going to get the ball rolling. So type in "Let's go." Again, get in the comments. All right. And I don't always get to see everyone that's in. So if you're in and you're doing it already, I appreciate it. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce Erika. So Erika Rothenberger is a powerful media personality. She's a thought leader and a keynote speaker known for her work on audacity, resilience, and bold leadership. She appeared on Fox News, has been featured in major media outlets, and was named Dynamic Woman of the Year by Philly Style Modern Luxury Magazine in 2025. Erika is the author of You've Got This, Boss Mama, and the upcoming book, which she's going to talk a lot about, Audacious Expansion. She's also the founder of the Sold Out Audacious Woman Summit and host of the Grit, Grace, and Glitz podcast, which I'm blessed to know that I'll be on that show with her. With an engineering background and a passion for people, Erika brings transformational storytelling and real-world leadership to every stage. So if you will, let's bring on Erika. Erika.
Hello.
Hey, I'm so blessed to have you on here with us today. It's awesome. Excited for you.
So honored to be here. And Steve, thank you for just opening this platform to so many felt leaders out there and just continuing to be that master connector.
Well, I appreciate it. Listen, I owe a lot to you. And minimally, you were the one that introduced me to the gentleman who helped me put together my scissor reel. I saw your scissor reel, right? And yes. I'm like, I got to have that guy, and so I appreciate you. So you've been a blessing all along, really being an encourager. And I think we've been able to encourage each other together. So it's been a blessing for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Alex is great. And you certainly have been that conduit in so many ways. So it's so fun to be able to cheer everyone on and just see us continue to make a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right into it. I know we have a limited time here and we want to make this the most. And I want to glean the most from you, Erika, as I possibly can. I know the community is excited to hear from you also. So So community, and some of you who know, some don't. Again, we like participation. So get in the comments and type in hashtag becoming. All right. And so let me just, I usually have my co-host here doing a lot of the puppeteering, but he's the wizard of the Oz behind the scene doing all the puppet string stuff. But I'll be doing that today. I'll be doing some of that. So type in becoming, hashtag becoming. So here's the question for you, Erika, as I really want you to roll with this as much as you want. So what do you need to heal, claim, or become before you were ready to write Audacious Expansion?
Love this question. And, I want to remind everyone about what audacity actually is. They hear audacious. And before I answer the actual question, I want to remind you that audacity can be moving forward, can be bold, can be brave, and all of those things. But just as much of that can be also in the silence. It can be saying no to something. It can be setting a boundary. It can be leaving a bad relationship or a job that doesn't serve you anymore. Sometimes that doesn't always come across as the big, bold, bad thing that's going on. Sometimes it's actually what happens in the quiet, what happens behind the scenes. And I want to remind you that at some point in your life, we all will deal with some sort of punch. And I'll preface that. The first chapter is actually called Punch or Pivot. And the reason it's called that is I was physically punched in a traumatic situation almost 4 years ago, a random assault. I'm not here to say that as a victim story. I'm here to say that as a choice story, because we all have choice stories in our life. We all have stories in our lives that we have pushed us forward, that have propelled us forward, that have made a difference. And most of the time, those stories were the hardest things in our life. Yep. The times we were the lowest, the times we got the blow, the time the punch actually physically or metaphorically happened in your life. And maybe it was losing the job, and maybe it was the sick child, maybe it was losing a spouse or a parent, but we've all had punches. And I want to remind you that what allowed me to heal was actually starting to speak about what happened to me, to actually share this story and to realize that it could make a difference in someone else's life. And I think when you go full circle and you realize that you can start serving someone else from your pain and turn it into purpose, that's when things really start to expand. That's when audacity starts to multiply. So I want you to think about, where has your punch been? What's the thing that came to mind when I said your punch? And how can you use that to actually help heal you? And what I recognized is I had this inner excitement to actually put it into words and actually put it into a book, to share this story, to know that this could help heal someone else, that this could be a light for someone else. This could be a beacon for someone else who needed to hear my story to help them create their own story. And I know that this will leave a long legacy behind it.
Yeah. And not to be sounded sensitive, but I have a martial arts background. In my case, I got a lot of punches that I got. I got my nose busted really bad. You see the big schnoz over here. So it's just been crazy. I got my lips split open, all sorts of big punches. But I think in my case, there were, maybe there wasn't one punch, but there were quite a few, right? Remember, I was in the advertising industry. I got laid off, and I went from making a lot of money to not. And so all sorts of stuff, being bullied as a kid. But I love what you're saying in terms of turning that, maybe it was one punch, or in my case, maybe it was a few, but turning that into something that could really have impact on people and be a blessing to other people. And, and I do want to talk a little bit about that. And if you have more to share on what I just said, you're welcome to. I can't tell if you want to say something, but so feel free to keep on going. But I want to ask about impact. So community, type in impact. And so the question I have, and again, you can go back on in the other side, but why was it important for this book to create impact beyond the pages, and what does that cause mean to you personally?
Prior to writing this book and prior to the punch that I referred to before, I thought I was living this big, bold, audacious life, right? As I pulled into the suburban office building that morning and took my last sip of pink Himalayan sea salt water, I remember looking in that rearview mirror thinking, wow, Erika, you're living this big, bold, audacious life. And I think sometimes we think we're living this big, bold, audacious life. And then something happens. Something happens that makes us recognize it happens for us and not to us, to open that window, to remind us about, hey, what do we actually want to leave here to create that impact? And that punch that day taught me that. It taught me that big, bold, audacious life, I thought I was living with my hard hat and my steel toe boots and, you know, having the office overlooking the courtyard was that big, bold life. And when I realized that there was so much more of me that I needed to put out to the world. I don't know if I would have wrote this book. I don't know if I would have been a TEDx speaker. I don't know if I would have become a keynote speaker. And because of all of that, I was able to unlock things that I never thought were truly even possible in me. Because there was a lot of self-doubt. I will tell you, writing this book for 18 months, there was a lot of times I wanted to throw the towel in. A lot of times I said, why am I worthy to actually write this book? And what I recognized is that when we have enough belief in ourselves and we lean on others, I have a method in my book called BOLD, and the L of BOLD is leaning on others. Who is that board of directors? Who are those people that when you want to throw the towel in and the mascara is running down your face and you're deciding like, this is just too much for me, that are going to help you keep going?
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of times that I've had mascara running down my face.
Okay? I know. I bet.
No, but I love what you're saying. And, you know, I love being transparent and authentic. So I had gone on StreamYard early before Erika was going to come on. And then I happened to get a call from my mentor and we had a conversation, and Erika's listening to the whole thing. It's funny. But my mentor, who has been incredible in my life, he's the one who challenged me to meet 3 strangers. He's the one who's been there for me. And this introvert who's now the master connector is such a crazy journey. And I spoke about this in my TED talk that I got a recently chance to do as well. And kudos to you. I know you did a TED talk as well. But and he basically said, listen, Steve, I'll believe in you till you believe in me, till eventually you believe in yourself. And it's so important to have somebody in your life. You talked about a board of directors, but somebody that believes in you, because sometimes you don't believe in yourself. But I want to say, community, if you're listening to this, you're amazing. You're awesome. You have the seed of greatness. I believe everybody has a seed of greatness inside of you. And I heard this once. If a plant that has a flower grows, but the flower never comes out, is it the plant's fault, or is it the environment? Is it the soil or the lack of light? And often it's people around us is that environment. So who are you surrounding yourself with, right? Right, Erika?
1,000%. And, you know, they say, you know, I want to just bring up a quick fact here. And I know stories are 22 times more powerful than facts, but this is an important fact. When you surround yourself with high performers in a 25-foot radius, you bring up your performance by 15% just by sitting near those people. But conversely, when you surround yourself with people that are lower performers or bringing that negativity into the conversation, you actually bring your performance down by 25%. So it is so important, just like the plant, to take yourself out of that circumstance and decide who do you want to surround yourself with. And sometimes that's scary to do, because a lot of times those are people that are well ahead of me, and it is intimidating as all could be. But particularly, I'll give you an example. I joined a mastermind, 2 years ago, and I was around people who were vibing at a higher level, doing more than me, on bigger stages. And it was hard, because there were some days I'm like, I'm not worthy of this. Why am I not there? But I realized that what it did is it really helped expand me. If I was willing to do the work and surround myself with those people, I'm like, they've already paved the way. This is why I need to be following them.
That's right. It's so true. Yeah, it's funny. I remember reading in a book how this gentleman was going on these business trips, and he wasn't making a lot of money, but he was staying at these 4-star hotels, and the reason was financially it was kind of dumb if you think about it, right? Because you can get a quarter of the cost at a Holiday Inn or something. No disrespect to Holiday Inn. But by being in that environment around high quality people, he elevated his perspective of himself. And that's a big thing. Yep. So I just want to also just riff off of the impact piece of this, right? I've learned it's so important. Impact is so important and key to me. I've learned that true success, you were mentioning before about your audaciousness of being the view of the courtyard and right and the great position. Yeah. But true success, in my opinion, is not how many things, your position, your, the car you drive or the house you live in, how many square foot. It's how many people are better because we were
Yes.
in their life and we had some kind of contribution to them in their life. And so important. And so I know we're on the same page on that
Yeah.
in a
And
major
I
way.
talk a lot about that in the book, and
Yeah.
I know we'll end there, is talk a lot about legacy. And at the end of the day, think about it. When you're 95 years old, what are the things you're going to remember? You're going to remember the Gucci purse you had or
Yeah.
the Lamborghini you drove, maybe, but is that going to what's really make the difference, right? The impact you can have. And going back to it, that's exactly why I wrote this book. That's exactly why I knew that this could have a massive impact on others. So the days that I wanted to throw the towel in, I had to realize that I was being really selfish. I was being really selfish by saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not going to finish this, or I'm not going to do it because someone else I know needs this gift.
Absolutely. And my hope and prayer, I remember hearing this particular story, right? Is there was a guy, an old man, crotchety old man on a beach, and basically he's walking on the beach and he sees the distance a young boy and he's throwing stuff in the water and he's like very curious. But again, this is a like skeptical, crotchety man. And as he walks up to the young boy, he sees that there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of starfish. And he asks the boy, "What are you doing, boy?" He's like, "Well, I'm throwing the starfish back." He's like, "Well, there's 100,000 of these stupid things around. What possible difference are you going to make?" And he goes, the young boy bends over, picks up a starfish, throws it into the water. He said, "I made a difference for that one." And what's one life, right? If we could touch one life, right?
Yep.
To me, that we've made a major difference, right? It's just doing one life, not touching one person. But I want to keep the ball rolling here. We got a lot to cover here. So, you know, a lot of times, I think sometimes you were talking about, you didn't say the words, but you were talking about imposter syndrome. I believe I also belong to several speaker masterminds, and these guys are making, lots of money. And I'm just this is early stage of my speaking career, and I often feel like I'm not worthy. Am I? Should I? Do I have? I don't know if I even have the permission to be there. So I want to talk about permission. So community,
Mhm.
type in hashtag permission, and if I screwed up and missed that impact one, I apologize. But get in the comments, type in permission. And here's a question for you: for the women or people
Yeah.
who look successful but feel stuck inside, what do you hope this book, will give permission to do?
Well, I want to ask you how you're defining success, right? Like, a success just because you could be asked to be on a stage with 25 people that are in the audience, but if you impact that one person, is that not successful because it wasn't a stage of 2,500 or 25,000? Is
Right.
the success because you're equating to the dollars in your bank account?
Mhm.
Is success because of the plaque that's on your wall of the degree you received? I think you need to go back to what your why is and what your success is defined as. So
Right.
so often we say we're not successful because, and typically it comes down to a monetary standpoint.
Yep.
And I think we have to stop that conversation in our head. And I'm not saying that money is not important, believe me, but I am saying, where is your purpose and your passion?
Mhm.
And success can look a lot of different ways. But I think, especially in America, we look at it that, if you don't have the X square foot house and you're not driving the shiny new, car, and you don't have this and that, then success is not obtainable to you. But when you find success, the inner success, that's when all the other stuff will follow. And at the end of the day, it goes back to, the conversation we had earlier with, are you making a difference to that one person, that one starfish, right?
Yeah.
And if you're feeling that way, I would encourage you to find a group like Steve and I talked about, a mastermind group. And you don't even need to join a paid group. There's so many groups and so many things out there, because when you are able to use the L in bold, which is leaning on others to help you get there, people want to help you, right? And if you genuinely want to help them, it will come back to you tenfold.
Yep.
So if you're feeling that way, you're feeling like success, I want you to ask yourself two questions tonight. I want you to ask you, what's the definition of success? and really think about what your definition of success is. And if it comes down to a dollar sign, it's not deep enough. And then I want you to go to the second question, and that's what's your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And it's not to put food on the table. There's something that's always deeper than that, right? Yeah. It's not just to, buy the new car. There's something that needs to be purpose driven. What is the thing that actually makes you jump out of bed when the alarm goes off and you want to hit snooze because you have that passion and purpose? So ask yourself, do a little bit of reflection. And that's one of the things that I love about this book is that at the end of every chapter, there's audacity and action where I challenge the reader to really put these things into action right away, not huge things, little things. And I'm not saying that every reader that gets to the end of every chapter is going to apply everything, but there are little steps. And if you find 3 or 4 things throughout the book that are going to change you, and you start putting those into play, that's when we can start to really make a difference. It also comes with a free downloadable journal because I truly believe when you take pen to paper and actually start writing down what you're going to do, you're 43% more likely to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And then when you start leaning on others and you tell them, you're 78% more likely to make it happen. Stats alone, you didn't even do any of the work. You're already 78% more likely to make it happen.
So true. And I got to get Erika's book, and I also encourage you to get Erika's book. But I am reading a book right now called Limitless by Jim Quick. And I don't know if you're the one who told me about that, Erika. I don't know.
Yes, great book.
It's great. And he talks about exactly what you're saying, which is so true, right?
Yep.
You gotta take action, and you got to teach others and write down. So important. I love what you're saying there. And listen, I think one of the things I've seen is through all sorts of adversity, comes a seed of equal or greater benefit. And we all kind of come, there's maybe a surprise, or, I think we look at the stuff we're going through. We're like, oh, what good is going to come of this? But I believe there's always something, a surprise that, and maybe that's not the way to call it that, but I'll call it a surprise. So I want to talk a little bit, community, about surprise. So type in #surprise. And here's what I want to continue on as we're getting towards the tail end of this amazing pop-up episode. So Erika, what's one thing about Audacious Expansion that might surprise people when they hear the word audacious? And maybe you touched on that already. I'm not sure.
I did touch upon it a little, and I want to remind you, it is sometimes the quiet things that are being done. It's sometimes saying no. I think we think audacious, when we think of the word, it's such a powerful word. And you think bold and brave and brass and that sandpaper. But sometimes it's actually the quiet things that you're doing that we talked about before. Sometimes it's saying no to something or setting the boundary. I actually have a chapter in the book, and it's pretty simplified, but if you apply this to any part of your life. So as a mom of 2 young kids, I know that every time I would get like an email from the teacher asking me to quote unquote bake the brownies, I was got cringy because I was like, oh, I don't have time to bake the brownies, this, that, and the other. And it was actually deciding to sometimes say no to that and to hire someone else who owned a bakery, another mom or another dad or another business, and recognizing that sometimes we have to say no to bake the brownies, whatever that is, however you can apply that in your life, to be able to expand in other areas. And if it doesn't bring you joy, it's okay to say no. I think we think that, and I know as a young, even a younger mom, I was like, well, if I don't I'm not doing a Betty Crocker recipe, I'm going to look like less than a mom. And now I look back at that, I'm like, what was I thinking? Right? No, we all belong in our own swim lanes, and it's deciding where you audaciously want to expand. Your audacious expansion is going to look way different than someone else's. And every definition can look a little different. So I want to remind you, as you read this book, it's about your audacious expansion, not Steve's, not Erika's, not the person to the right or left of you, but where you truly want to expand to that next level. Oh, you're on mute.
Rookie mistake. As I was, earlier on in the previous kind of section we were talking about, I wanted to say something. I'm going to say it now, and I kind of skipped my mind, but I'm here now. And that is, when I was looking to figure out what really moves me and drives me, and by the way, my TEDx talk, unless Ted decides to change, which I don't think they will, which is, and I believe it's audacious because it's the quiet advantage, how introverts can out-connect the rest. It's like, what? Wait, what? Like, it's like you said about it's quiet, right? But for me, what really shifted for me when I started to realize I put together a life's mission statement of how I wanted, to
Mm.
make an impact. And that mission statement, and I listened to this in a talk, was at a conference. Again, we talked about it being about the right kind of people, right kind of environment. And at the front of the stage, they were talking about create a life's mission statement. And what the speaker, she happened to be a female, and she said it should be something that you pretty much can't accomplish until they bury you 6 feet under, because a lot of times we see these athletes, these superstars, they hit the peanut, the Venus, what's the word I'm looking for? The pinnacle of their career,
Right.
whatever, and then they commit suicide or overdose because they got nothing else to live for. So it should be something that drives you that you could take all the way to you go on to the next phase of eternity. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But
Yeah.
we want to end here with the legacy piece. So community, type in hashtag legacy. And here's the question. And I know you got a lot to share on this because it's so important to me. To me, again, it's not, what you do, it's what you leave behind for people, in my opinion. So 5 years from now, what legacy do you hope this book leaves for the women or people who read it?
Love this question. Thank you for honoring me and ending with this question because I think it's so important. I think at the end of the day, the older I get, the more I realize how important legacy is. And I think when we're younger in our careers or younger just in age wise, we're selfish. We're thinking, we have our horse blinders on and we're like riding down one path. And the older I get, the more I realize when the legacy is actually felt, that's when you really have that soul driven purpose and passion. So I'm going to start with the first one. And the first one, my biggest why, the reason I get up every day is my 2 kids who this book is dedicated to. And I'm hoping in 5 years from now, Drew, who's 12 right now, and Adeline, who's 9, pick up this book one day and recognize their audacity. That they go after the things because they watched me. That they go after the things that may seem scary and may seem challenging, but because of the actions that they watched through my husband and myself and other people that they surround themselves with, they dared to go after their goals and dreams. The second one is for future men and women who read this book. I have a hashtag in there, Audacity Activated. And I will tell you, after doing my summit and after doing a lot of coaching and a lot of speaking, the amount of people who will reach out to me and tell me because they heard my message, they activated their audacity. And it could be the smallest thing, the biggest thing, writing the letter to quit the job, deciding to move forward with the divorce, deciding to recreate that relationship with the person they hadn't talked to in a while. They said, I activated it because I heard you speak. And what I hope is the legacy is that just continues to happen. And that activation continues to just ripple, like you talked about before. That one starfish continues to go, throughout generations, throughout groups, throughout people there. The next one is the fact that the proceeds from this book, the month of March, in honor of Women History Month, Women in Construction Week, International Women's Day, being today 2/22, very intentional that I launched the book this day. You'll figure that out when you read chapter 22. I can't wait for you to read it and share why 2/22 is so important to me to launch the book, and also to be a big part of why 22 is such a significant number in my life. But with that being said, I really believe in giving back. And the reason I chose the Laurel House was it helps fight against domestic violence, men or women. And I truly believe that my case was a random assault, but I don't have a foundation that's for random assault. So I truly believe that there's men and women who are dealing with domestic violence who can't use their voice because they're living under the same roof as someone, because right now they don't have the power to leave. And maybe there's children involved, and I want to be their voice. I want to be able to be their audacity. Maybe they can't speak it out loud right now, but I want my voice to help serve them, and the monies that are raised from buying this book. So if you go and buy a copy, know that it's going towards a really, really good cause. And then lastly, that the law in Pennsylvania will be changed. So
Mm.
since my assault, I've worked really hard with legislation, really hard to change the law, because for many people, including myself, who didn't know this, when you get strangled by a stranger, it's a misdemeanor versus a felony in the state of Pennsylvania right now.
Mm.
I went through 11 different courtrooms, 3.5 years of trial. After 999 days, I finally was allowed to read my victim statement, to watch the 4 women that were assaulted the night before me, the woman who was sexually assaulted the morning of my case, and to remember right before he strangled me that I thought it was my last breath on earth.
Wow.
And I never want anyone to have to fight the way that I did for justice to be served. And right now, going through legislation, will be a law named the Erika's Law. And I say that with confidence, even though it's not a law yet. So someone else who unfortunately may have to go through this one day never has to fight the same way that I had to fight to get justice served.
Wow.
And that's legacy.
Whew. Wow. Well, first of all, I mean, amazing. And I personally appreciate everything you shared. And I could tell, especially as you were talking about your kids, you started to get emotional, and I appreciate that. It happened in my TED talk, by the way. And initially I was appalled by it after it happened, but I'm like, you know what? It's authentic. It's me. It shows that I care. And obviously it means so much to you kids. And so I love the fact that you expressed your why, and also obviously how you want to make an impact on this world through changing legislation. So appreciate that. I want to finish up the show. We're a little bit over here, but it's worth it. Any final thoughts? And then if you have a call to action, I know you do, I'd love for you to share that with the community as well.
I just want to, my final thoughts are, first and foremost, Steve, thank you. Thank you for paving the way for so many. Thank you for being that master connector, because I truly believe at the end of the day, the doctors were there, the nurses were there, the detectives, the police, the legislation. But what brought me back to life, what made me who I am today, was connection. Connection was my oxygen when I wanted to be that victim, when I wanted to crawl into a ball. It was the connection with the people that reached out to me. It was the giggles of my kids in the pool. It was my husband who jumped back on a plane to make sure he could be by my side. My friends and family who drove thousands of miles to be with me at a time when it was the darkest in my life. Wow. So do me a favor. If nothing else, even if you don't buy the book, make that connection with that person today.
Love that.
Go make that connection, because at the end of the day, nothing, no prescription, no law, no book will ever replace the power of meaningful connections.
I love that. AI is great, but we need the human connection. So strong. I know you have a few things going on. Would you mind sharing about and whether the best way to reach you and anything else you want to share? I know there's some cool, fun things going. So please.
Yeah, absolutely. I am on, LinkedIn's a great place to connect with me. Would love to connect with you, share my story. Would love to know what you thought of the book, adding a testimonial. So if you haven't bought a copy of the book, I know Steve has a link. You could go grab a copy, know that the proceeds are going to a really great cause. In addition to that, if this is something that really resonates with you and you're like, I want to be in that audacious room of over 200 women in October 16th of 2026. We will be in the greater Philadelphia area at the Audacious Woman Summit. Last year was sold out 3 months in advance. And I will tell you that this is a place that you want to be. You want to really activate yourself. Steve and I talked about the power of connections, and that can make all the difference in the world. And then lastly, if you got enough tonight, perhaps you aren't going to want to stay on, but at 8:30 Eastern this evening, we are having a live virtual launch party, 30 minutes, pajamas encouraged, where we'll be coming and you'll be hearing a little bit more about the book, a little bit more about the purpose and passion. And I want to give you this open invitation to join us this evening. So Steve, I just want to thank you. Thank you for being audacious. Thank you for helping me expand and make sure this message gets out to the world.
Well, we listen, you are doing incredible work. We just appreciate you in a major way. And community, if you haven't connected with Erika, please do so. I am going to attempt to put this also in a place where you can click links. So hopefully that'll work.
Perfect.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Great.
Look at you, like making it all
I'm
happen.
trying to be the puppeteer here, but anyway, thank you, Erika. You were amazing. Eventually we'll share a stage together. I look forward to doing that, like a physical stage. I'm excited for that. But just appreciate the work you do, and I can't wait to get that book and dig in and be audacious and expand as well. So appreciate you in a major mighty way.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. God bless.